All right, guys. Season 3, episode 1 of From, titled Shatter. We're here. We just covered the first 2 seasons. And for anyone listening or watching that hasn't seen our coverage or watched or listened to our coverage, Kathleen, Luke, and Brian. Luke isn't here today, but he will be back. The 3 of them have not watched From at all when they were covering the show with me on the podcast. I had watched the show, and they were the rookies watching. So they were a fresh set of eyes. But now we're on the same playing field. Season 3 is here. Thank you to MGM Plus for the screeners. We will be getting these episodes out immediately for you guys. And it's time. We finally are all caught up. And this was a wild episode. So let's just get started. Let's talk about what we thought. And then we're just going to go how we have some buckets, but we're just going to free for all it. Brian, get started. Let me know what you think of this episode.
Yeah, we're living the dream. This is the classic pitch town to Rooks and Vets to weekly coverage pipeline that Bingetown TV loves so much. So we are finally here. All of us are caught up, like you said, and we're going to be covering this week to week. But as far as an opening to the season, it did a lot of the things that I was hoping for it to do. A lot of it was just, where are they now after the events of season 2 unfolded? How are we all coping? Obviously, Tabby is no longer in the town, so we're seeing how that is affecting the Matthews. And I don't want to say they were getting too comfortable in the town, but like they had kind of figured out how to maneuver the monsters and stuff. And, they were kind of existing there relatively comfortably, and we know that the monsters and the powers that be weren't going to like that. So I feel like this episode was just them shaking the snow globe, if you will, and just being like, yeah, you're getting a little bit too comfortable. You're not supposed to be that happy here in FROMville, as we've been calling it. But kind of as this show has gone, we didn't get too much substance, but it is just an episode 1 of a season. So like I said, they're setting the groundwork for the season. And the thing that we all kind of said we liked that they were doing in season 2 is leaning more into the horror elements. And I felt that they definitely did that. The monsters overall seemed to have maybe a new look, or maybe they were just CGI, I feel like we saw budget. Them showing their monster face more often, which probably is an up to the CGI budget. And Elgin saw the creepy vision of the skinny lady again, and that was much improved CGI on her. So again, introducing another element out of left field, this weird dead tree stick stuff in the log cabin village that Jim and Kenny see. So I'm like, okay, are they just writing checks I can't cash again? But it's something I definitely want to learn more about. So I guess this is just par for the course for From. But like I said, it's been so entertaining so far, and a little bit more of the same is not necessarily a bad thing here. Kathleen, what do you think?
It's funny you say that about Elgin, because I kind of have it written as bad CGI in my thing. And I think I miss seeing it. I think it's probably good CGI. It just looks so different than anything else in the town. It almost looks animated, which is interesting. It's
video
like a completely different entity than what we're seeing. I think the season 3 has gotten like a budget upgrade or something, because the fact that the monsters are even showing their faces so often feels like a budget upgrade. Like we're getting them to see their true colors. Seeing them be like more sentient and fucking with the people on purpose was jarring almost. Like them like being smart enough to kind of lock them in that barn and torture makes me think that in season 2, when Kelly got the thing in her head through the tree, and I was like, that doesn't seem like their MO. Brian said the same thing. It makes me think maybe it is their MO. Maybe they are just messing with the people, and the stuff about Hope from last season. It's like, Boyd thinks this place isn't going to break them. Well, we're going to break them right now. So it's very interesting. Tabby being in the real world, I am so excited to explore that. It's almost like a completely different show watching someone try to figure out navigating, exploring. I'm so glad we saw that. Yes, her family is missing. Yes, her other family was looking for them. Every single person who is there is a missing person. Blew my freaking mind if Tabby is right that that's his dad. Time travel.
Yeah.
It's going to be his brother or something, right?
We'll have to get into that. Yeah, we'll definitely have to get into that more, because it can't be.
Yeah.
The guy would have to look 90.
And two things I'll say. Directing felt different. I'm not quite into cinematography enough to pinpoint what exactly was making me feel like it was different. But I definitely felt like it was an upgrade, and I was really enjoying the directing of this. It was more like I can't, maybe by episode 2 I'll be able to identify it. The 3, I can't wait for Brian to talk about Ethan
With it,
and some
he's
of
got a
the
grown-up
Ethan
haircut.
choices. Just
my
it's like
Lanta.
more like the choices he was making. This, and I'm excited to talk through it because I'm like, Ethan, letting the monster in the house. I was like, you better stop for a freaking goat.
I for the goat, not the goat, a goat.
Mm-hmm.
It's the game has changed. It really has. This episode, while we wished for some plot moving, and Brian, you're totally right. Like they just added some more, like their MO is add a little bit more, add a little bit more. Makes me gosh darn excited because I want to know what's up with those cabins and everything.
Sure.
But at the same time, I'm just like, here comes some more stuff we need to figure out. But anyway, the monsters is a game changer. It really, really is, because we joked that they are more like NPCs. We talked about, are they just controlled by the larger entity? Are they the tip of the spear? Did I get it right this time, Brian, after the 100th time?
You did.
I did. So, man, the fact that they're actually, like Kathleen said, more sentient, more willing to set traps, actually speaking with Boyd in a way where they're finally conversing with meat on the bones of a conversation. Because, and we talked about this when we were going back to the specific scene in season 2 with Slim Shady, aka Randall, for anyone who hasn't been listening to our first 2 podcasts or first 2 season coverage. We were waiting for, like, when are these people going to have real conversations? Wouldn't you want to have real conversations with these monsters? I mean, yes, they can lure you in. Yes, I think, Brian, you were the one bringing up the fact that they might be able to give you, like, what were you saying? Kind of like a siren in the ocean, kind of like lure you into. Yeah. And maybe, yes, but at the same time, it would be so, like, I would want to talk to these monsters, just be like, whether you're going to talk shit like Randall or actually have real conversations and see if they'll talk back. Randall tried to do that, and they kind of just do their normal, oh, you should let me in. Oh, you're not going to talk to me. I'm going to walk away. But now this season, I mean, fully talking to Boyd, being like, we heard you say that this isn't going to break you. You're not going to get broken, where we're going to show you. And it makes you wonder certain things, like why the farm animals made it this long in the first place. Why weren't traps set before? Totally. Well, is it leveled up? Is it one of those things like we were alluding to last episode when we covered it, where it's just they're really feeding off hope/fear? And again, they save Boyd because he's the one keeping the hope alive. And if the larger entity or the monsters really do feed off hope of the townspeople, you need Boyd to keep them together. If Boyd dies, so does the hope. So it makes sense that they keep Boyd alive. And I just hope that, and there you go, they're going to feed off my hope here, that they just were purposely waiting. Whether that's a convenient explanation or not, like, hey, you leveled up. We talked about it. Like, you leveled up. We're going to make the weather worse. We're going to get rid of the crops. And now we're going to really psychologically F with you. I'm hoping that it's kind of just like, oh, you leveled up from phase 1. Here's phase 2. And we're going to make it worse. And not just like, now they just decided season 3, let's do it.
I need some sort of hint as to who is above the monsters. That is what I'm craving. Not like a full, here's a look behind the curtain, but a hint, wink, wink. There is someone above the monsters, like they're taking orders from, because it just doesn't seem like the monsters are acting alone for whatever reason, even though they're showing that they're smarter than they originally seemed. Maybe they're more sentient. I still don't buy that they are the be all end all big bad of this.
Agreed.
And I just need some substance that points us to that direction of who it actually might be that's pulling the strings.
I agree. I mean, it made it more so in the first 2 seasons, where they were very, very NPC-like, where it's like, okay, they're pawns in a game of chess, and we have a king or a queen at the top that's going to be moving them. And they're literally, we talked about in certain episodes of the last season why they just didn't attack Boyd. Are they just given specific directions? Do they not know anything else that they're supposed to do? Are they just told, hey, leave the forest and cause mayhem, go back to bed, wake up, do the same thing over and over? And now it really does seem like they're more sentient, but yes, they are being still given directions. I can't imagine something like tip of the spear being said by Martin and then it not being something bigger and worse. Like we already knew about the music box entity, and there's got to be something when it comes to Boy in White or Manifestation of Abby or any of that kind of stuff where there is a higher power, whether it's kind of Yellow Jackets-esque and the village slash forest is the entity. I don't know if I'm down with that, but I don't know. We should and we better get more information this season because this is the make or break season.
Definitely. So why don't we kind of start to get into it? Do we want to start with the Tabby stuff? Because that was
Let's
our
do it.
introductory scene, and I feel like that's going to be really fast. It's just her talking to the doctor. I am questioning everything about her current reality, but it does seem that she really, really is back in the real world based on really it was the conversation with her mom that did it for me.
Yep.
But like wakes up in the hospital, the doctor's like, hey, we found you in the woods. We're just going to get the police in here as, you know, that's what we do. That's procedure. She's like, nah, I ain't sticking around for that. Gets her clothes and the lunchbox and just dips. And then she's just kind of meandering around, but she sees the boy in white in the real world. And I wasn't sure if we were going to see him out in the real world. That kind of took me by surprise, if I'm being honest.
The best part about this is that I enjoy that Tabby understands that if she tells just anybody about this, they're going to put her in a mental hospital.
Right.
So I was brainstorming how she could get out of this and really like pack a punch with being like with proof. And she has to have like a flight manifest of every single person in the town, every detail she can think of in the person in the town about that person. And then she hands it over and says, how would I know that all of these people have missing persons reports? Like I was missing. We're all missing. We're all in this town.
Right.
Like you can name any single thing. You can name like, okay, Donna was with her sister. Her sister was dead. Boyd came with Abby and Ellis and Abby's now dead and all this stuff. Like I was like, you got to think this through. And I was like, do not trust this priest. This priest is not good for you. Get out. But I was so pumped at the end. Well, whoever that familial Victor person is, it's definitely not his dad. And if it is, my mind is blown because that can't be true.
I kind of want to ask, was that priest just an inquisitive priest? Because I was getting, that dude's a mole. He's working for FROMville, dude. I was getting some really weird juju from him.
When he said, what's his name about Thomas, I thought it was going to turn into something like, oh, and then it was going to be something where it's connected and blah, blah, blah. And I was going to be like, I don't know how I feel about that. I guess he was just inquisitive and helped her plot device to look into the lunchbox, which that's important. There's a couple things that are very important that we found out, even though we didn't get too much of Tabby. And obviously, number one is that Victor gave her a lunchbox and she showed up in the real world with it, right? She fell out of the lighthouse. She left FROMville and she still had it with her, still wearing the clothes she was wearing in FROMville. So that's number one. Number two, when she asked for the cell phone, there's a couple more things I would have done with that than just call my mom. Like I would have just hit the Google Maps app just to see where the hell I was, so I didn't have to ask somebody where are we right now and look even crazier.
Well,
or what's
they're
today.
in Camden, New Jersey. No, I'm kidding. Maine. They're in Camden.
Yeah,
no, I'm joking because I was like, because they say Camden and I'm like, better not be New Jersey. That is not what Camden, New Jersey looks like.
But that's the thing. So it means something. She's pushed out of the lighthouse and she's being sent to where Victor's childhood home was. And you don't know that until she sees the lunchbox and looks up where she has to go. Yeah. So there's a purpose to where she was sent. When she asked the girl for the cell phone, she had no idea where she landed. She could have been in California. She could have been in
No,
Philadelphia
she
with us.
knows. She
How?
asked.
When the
doctor told her.
doctor, St. Andrew's Hospital in Camden.
Oh, she did say
Name.
Camden? I thought
Yes.
she just said.
That's why I
Oh,
was
okay.
making the joke because she's like, "Where are we?" And she's like, "Camden."
Right.
But then the doctor pauses
Oh.
and then says Maine, which made me laugh.
I
Okay,
think
never
that's
mind.
why when
So
she
that might
saw
have
the address in the lunchbox, she was like, "I know where I need to go because I'm already here," kind of. But I agree,
Okay,
that's not a coincidence that she
right,
landed
right.
there.
Okay. For everyone listening, then I 100% missed that scene, and it's probably because the screeners I was glitching. Was it in the very beginning?
Yeah.
Okay, when
Yeah.
she was talking to the nurse, yeah. So I was kind of glitching in the beginning, so I must have missed that scene. But either way, like you said, Brian, it means something. And then she sees this. She goes to the priest, and then she goes to Victor's childhood home. I'm guessing, and yes, unless Victor is some kind of time travel child, or it's a time pocket in FROMville where he can grow older and outside world doesn't. Right, it should be the
That's
other way
the
I
around, right?
mean,
only
No,
way
no.
it
I'm
would
saying okay. No,
work.
so it could be it could be that in FROMville, your time you grow older faster than people in the real world do.
time progresses faster in FROMville.
Right.
That's what
So
it would
Victor
have
could
to
have
be.
got right. So they could have thought that but see, that's the thing. Another question I would have asked was kind of like, how long have I been gone, Mom? When she's talking on the phone.
For
But
sure. What a waste of a phone call. I'm not even gonna lie. Tabby, come on.
yeah, please don't worry. I mean, she says it later. She's like, "Oh, I don't know if I did worse than what I thought." And I'm like, "Yeah, you did because you told your mom that you're alive, which is great, but now you're just like, but I'm going to be disappearing again and I'll talk to you later."
Yeah, but it was proof for her that
No,
this
you
is
have
the
to do
real
it.
world and
But
I'm talking to my
right.
mom. And
You
that's the
have to
first
do it.
call I would make
Definitely.
too. Mom and dad. Gotta call.
I would have called Jim.
Love you guys.
I thought she was going to call Jim's cell phone. That's what I
I
thought.
thought so as well, kind of. If he answered, that would be insane.
Yeah. That's honestly where I thought it was going.
Yeah.
But obviously not. So anything else we want to talk about when it comes to Tabby in general? And before we move on to our next bucket,
No.
No,
I think we're
it's all
good.
good.
I do want to say that your boy here did say that he thought that Victor's mother was going to be involved. I might be a little backwards when it's going to Victor's childhood home and it's going to be the dad or maybe the brother or whatever it's going to be. But
You can't take points for that. You said the mom. That is completely different.
It's different, but it's the same
Agreed.
because she
No.
still goes to Victor's house, and Victor's house means something for some reason. Just because she
Yeah,
has his lunchbox,
duh.
it didn't have.
Here you go, buddy. Here's your
Oh.
participation trophy.
Yeah. Agreed.
Fine.
So
All right,
so
let me
that's-
ask you a question. I
Yeah.
wanna take us to our next thing because I may have missed a word from our priest in FROMville, Father Cadre. Is there any sort of time jump or did it get really cold overnight? Because everyone is full jacket, like really cold. It felt like a different, almost like things have really changed overnight.
Yeah.
Obviously, like time jump, it made Ethan look older because there was a hiatus and stuff. Did I
Yeah.
miss that or was it really the next day? Because
3
Boyd was
days.
cleaning up 3 days. Okay. 3 days. Interesting.
So they said the line from Father Kotri is you were shot by one of the members of your town 3 days ago.
Okay, I missed
Gotcha.
that completely. Just like we
Screeners.
both missed it.
Yeah.
The seasons are changing very, very quickly. Everybody's like bundled up. Like you can tell there is a different feel to this town already. And I want to stay with that Father Kotri conversation because Boyd, they do the back and forth. Kotri's kind of like, hey, Boyd, everybody kind of seems a bit comfortable. Maybe they're not panicked enough. Clearly things are starting to go downhill. People should be a little bit on high alert. And then Boyd asks a great question. He's like, well, hold up, man. When I saw that vision of my wife, Abby, I know hands down that was not actually a vision of my real wife. So who the hell am I talking to right here, Father Kotri? What are you?
Yeah.
And Kotri kind of goes, I'm going to have to let you figure that out for yourself or something like that. He's like, yeah, you gotta find that out. I like that he's questioning his own reality. And furthermore, like, do we have to start questioning that this is not just his own hallucinations, like a plot device that every show uses. You talk to someone who passed just to
Right.
bounce ideas off of them. And for that matter, Jade was talking to Tom. So it's like FROMville sending these visions to people with the purpose.
Yeah. So if you're saying it is tough, like the unreliable narrator situation of it all, because if you're having a hallucination where you're just talking to somebody that exists in your own conscious, that person or thing shouldn't know anything new from when they died. Oh, actually, that's not true because it's in your own head. So you can like project it onto them, I guess. But there are scenarios where Tom and Katri are saying things that have happened, obviously, since they passed. It can just be a projection from your own conscious. But I don't know. Ever since the Abby thing, and we were predicting that it was the entity trying to fight back with Boyd and trying to use psychological warfare on him, basically, I'm going to question every single hallucination there is. And for a second, I was like, oh, shit, when we saw that CGI version of the skinny lady, whatever we want to call her. And then Tilly, is it Tilly, right?
Yes.
And then Tilly saw her as well, but then it was a dream. So whatever. But Kathleen, what were you going to say when it came to the hallucinations?
I was just gonna say they can't know anything that Boyd doesn't know if
Right.
it's his own.
Right. If it's, yeah.
And also had to just Google who Tom was because I just called him the bartender this whole time. I was like, Tom, who is Tom?
Rip Tom. I was really starting to like him.
Yeah,
I liked
him,
Tom
yeah.
too. I don't think I ever knew his name because I'm like, he's the bartender. Just like Father Katri, it took me a long time to be like, okay, he's the priest, the priest, you know.
That's another negative side effect of the binge.
Yeah,
binge fast.
totally.
They don't sink in as quick.
Yeah. But moving forward, we've got, we see Ethan's upset. He's wondering where his mom is. It's been 3 days. He's, not in a good state. Neither would I be. Julie is actually kind of stepping up in a weird way and becoming more mature. I mean, she looks at her dad like this isn't your fault because you could tell Jim is running around like freaked out.
Yeah,
and
because Ethan's missing. And his wife.
Missing, yeah. But Jim's decision to then be like, I'm going, and he realizes it by the end.
Yeah.
Is so silly. Like, you're in this scary place. You're really going to leave your 2 kids. Like, your wife went and she's gone, quote unquote. Like, it's silly. It's classic Jim.
Yeah.
Classic
not
Jim.
me, Jim. And
No.
I don't know if I would make that decision, but it's a tough situation to be in because
totally
you have a feeling, whether it's not outwardly said, but your children both are thinking, go get mom and bring her home to us, right? But then the adult in you needs to know that while that might make them mad at you or hate you for a little bit in the childish way, it's what's best for them to stay and to be the parent that they need. So
Definitely.
It stinks for Jim, and he makes the wrong decision at first, but then he immediately realizes it once he gets a little bit scared. Him and Kenny are just like, we'll be good. We're going to go out there. We're going to do the damn thing. No big deal, especially Kenny. And immediately something creaks, and they're like, oh, shit, we made a mistake. It's like, well, yeah, you freaking did, bro.
Kenny is not going to be good. No. He was already not good, and the guilt is going to eat him alive. He left to go help protect Jim, and he left his mom. And there's no way Mrs. Lou should have been with Boyd at the end. That was insane. And Boyd tried to it was heroic of her, right? She was being brave, but protect her at all costs. I can't believe Kenny's out 2 parents now. That's crazy.
He's got it bad. I mean,
Usher.
Let's play the sound clip there. It's tough. I mean, you feel for Kenny big time. I mean, obviously you're losing 2 parents, but now you're going to be losing them both to the monsters, and you know that we don't see it, but she was tortured
in front of Boyd.
And he's going to again be like, let me see my mom so I can bury her. So he's going to have the vision of both his dad and his mom torn to pieces by these monsters. I need Kenny to have a character change after this. He needs to get a little bit more dark, Now he was getting there, obviously, where he was lashing out at Sarah, and he was a little bit too mean, and me, in your opinion, Kathleen. But
Mhm.
maybe not necessarily as dark, but just straight up like hardened from this. I think he was
Mhm.
starting to soften back to his old Kenny self after his dad and time was passing. I would like to see a character change, even though I freaking love Kenny how he is. I think it's going to have to happen.
I don't want to see just blind, reckless rage, which
No,
is a
I
little
agree with
No.
bit what
that.
you were alluding to with the Sarah stuff. He
Right,
let
right.
himself just be pissed off at the world. I don't want to see that out of Kenny, but I agree. Hardened is a good word. It really is time to grow up and kind of just like be a leader in the town. Boyd's been asking for it from him, and I mean, he's definitely going to go to a dark place for the next couple episodes. Do not get me wrong. I also hope that Boyd learns from his mistakes and he's like, "Listen, Kenny, I owe it to you to tell you exactly what these monsters put your mom through. I'm only going to tell you once, but like it was not a pretty death, but I think you're big enough to hear exactly how it went down."
I
Yeah.
feel like they peeled her.
They
Like they
literally
Oh,
did
hell
everything
yeah.
you could do. Yeah. I mean, you saw how it basically slit the throat of the cow with no effort at all, and we only saw one thing, and it was kind of just ripping a little like the scalp from the back, and again, no effort at
Mhm.
all when it came to Mrs. Lou. So yeah, and they talked about it for the first two seasons. You know, they try to keep you alive as long as possible for the torture. They like you to be alive and to be tortured during it. And the other thing about this whole thing is, does it? Boyd's pretty hard, obviously. I think it might make him more like tunnel visioned, what's best for the town decisions, because he shouldn't have let Kenny go. We saw in the beginning of this episode, he's back to the shaking, right?
Yeah.
We were
Mhm.
wondering if the blood was going to cure him, if something was going to cure him. The town may slow it down, whatever. But we did see that they're back to showing us that he's shaking again.
Yeah.
And his whole thing with Kenny was, if I don't make it, you're the next man up that needs to keep the hope going for this town. You need to keep the town together. He says to Kenny, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't put yourself in danger. But he really should have said, bro, remember what we talked about before. If I don't make it and you don't make it, there's a good chance that this town is game over. And I
Mhm.
feel like he should have done his best, not just like, hey, man, don't go, done his best to not let Kenny go. He's a grown man. He can do what he wants, but I don't
I
know.
I That's a tough call because Jim was not being convinced out of going out into the woods. And Kenny made two good points. One, he's like, we can't lose Jim because Jim is a somewhat valuable resource for the town. He's been capable, he's been making moves, whatever. But two, he's like, we can't just play defense forever. At a certain point, we got to get on the offensive. And I loved that quote from Kenny.
I do like that as well. Yeah.
So, yeah, he's right. They got to continue to find things out about what the hell's going on here, and the only way you're going to do that is by going out into the woods. And I mean, they did find something new, and they were only out there. Presumably, they are going to come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, they
I
found a
mean,
little village. That's something.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
what do you guys think about it?
let's quickly talk about that. So, should we assume that, like the trees, these things move, like landmarks in the wilderness move? Like, how? I understand that they're, again, I don't want to say tunnel vision again, but when you're in the woods, you're kind of just like, you're going where you need to go. You get where you get, A to B. You're not really looking around too much, but it doesn't seem like they went that far. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, holy shit, there's some cabins and stuff that we've never seen before. And I was like, I feel like somebody should have seen that by now. And I know there is a scenario where Sarah and Boyd were in the tent and they got pulled, and it could have been pulled one way, the other way. But I just feel like it didn't seem like they went that far, and the cabins were just so new to all of us.
If there were harder rules, I would think harder into this, but there's not. There's not rules in this town, so I have no idea. It didn't even look like they were like real skulls. It looked like it was like clay
Yeah.
skulls made, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just some
So, Brian,
voodoo shit.
is this going to your hope and your theory that there are going to be people, whether it's on the other, like a town on the other side of the wilderness, or living in the forest, or what? Like, what do you think this means when it comes to there being actual cabins?
I would say yes. That means that there's a better likelihood because of the existence of this little log cabin village that there are people out there. But
Right.
I kind of put this together with people having seen Civil War soldiers, okay? Which to me says that there have been people getting ensnared in FROMville for like over 100 years throughout
True.
kind of recorded history. And I think throughout that history of FROMville, people had to survive differently. So I think this could be evidence of a past civilization, you know, the last dozen poor saps from like the 1800s that got trapped in FROMville. That's how they survived. And maybe the weird totem poles were like their little culture. I don't know. When people are
Yeah.
trapped like this, they come up with fucked up stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have
Mhm.
you ever heard of Yellow Jackets?
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I like that a lot. I mean, it totally could just be going back to the fact with the dates and the bottles
Mhm.
that there's people that have existed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they do exist currently.
That's kind
Yeah.
of where I'm at. Yeah, definitely it did not look like there was anybody chilling there currently, unless
Right.
those twigs snapping outside was the current resident being like, "Oh, who's got a fire going on in my cabin?"
Yeah,
But I
right.
don't think so.
Yeah. They would have just came in if it wasn't like,
Mhm.
yeah. All right. You guys good on Kenny and Jim?
I think so.
So let's move forward. The other big overarching story of this is that food shortage, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Quickly, we do get a mention that Marielle, Randall, and Julie are fine. We don't see Marielle, but we do see Randall and Julie. They're totally fine. But there's a
Well,
food shortage. What?
not totally fine. Jim's just like, Julie's not saying anything ever since she woke up, and she
Oh,
is,
right.
but yeah, they're
But
alive.
seemingly okay and
Yes.
alive.
Yes.
Right.
There's a food shortage. No one wants to sleep in this town. You know, we kind of see Fatima puking with some morning sickness, but she's not really eating, but she's also getting double portions. People are getting rowdy about it. Then we see all of the crops are rotten, which is bad. And I kind of
Yeah.
like
For
this
sure.
idea. I do think it's interesting that it's like, why is this like just an issue now after all this time? And it is just like the people fucking with them. But I like this as an idea of like, because there would be a food shortage here. Like, you can't control everything. And you're working within the confines of this FROMville that's, you know, however many square feet. You only have what's in it. So
Right.
I do
Mhm.
enjoy it. I think this is like a real world issue added on to the fact that there's monsters and shit. So
Yeah.
it's
And
good for me.
I think it's also supernatural in the way where they didn't expect it to be rotten food. I think that FROMville made them rotten,
Totally.
right?
Yes.
So, you would think that, okay, it gets cold and they are actually harvesting early, Ellis said, which would make it just not grown all the way, not rotten. So I'm not a
Donna
farmer.
Donna has previously said the soil is poison. Like
Yeah.
it is rejecting our crop. So yeah, I think it's some FROMville tomfoolery going on.
Right. And what are your thoughts on Fatima? Are you still in on the fact that as the episodes go on, she may progress in her pregnancy quicker than a 9-month term or however it is said?
I mean, if the FROMville people are aging quickly, then maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been thinking that would be like one of the few shows that could actually explain. Like Ethan looks significantly older this season from last season.
Yeah. Yeah.
FROMville ages quickly. Like that would
Yeah.
be just like a quick explanation from them. But I still like that. And also, I
Yeah.
feel like the show has not been following FROMville for a 9-month span, even up to this point in time. So, like, they probably want that pregnancy to progress just for the purposes of the show and entertainment and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. And if you have a scenario where the boy in white shows himself as a little boy, right? Younger than
Mhm.
Ethan's age, about Victor's age when Victor first started. If he is manifesting himself somehow from outside of the town. Maybe he is actually young, but he's got the when they say he's not really a young boy, what they mean is he's been manifesting in FROMville for so long that in the real world he's a little boy, but in FROMville, as long as he's in there, he is also aging, however you want to say it, mentally or whatever. He's like almost being aged in two different scenarios, two different worlds, universes. I'm not sure if there's anything to that, but the fact that the little boy can show up outside of FROMville, if that actually is outside of FROMville, which we don't know for sure.
Or if she's actually seeing him. There is a world where she's hallucinating him or something like that, but I like to think it's not, but there is a world of that.
Yeah. So again, it's just one of those things where we need a lot more information, and hopefully we get it in this season.
Just before we continue on this, because I don't think we're going to bring up Fatima again, that chick Nikki was being like egregiously rude to her. Just throw her out the window, whatever.
Correct.
There was another girl named Clara who we have seen before. Put her on the board as the town mole. Yes.
So she's the eye girl, right? The one who got
the eye girl. She's here when Fatima's doing morning sickness, whatever. She also ran into Jade and Ethan when they were rummaging through Victor's room and stuff. She was like, hey guys, what are you doing? And then when Victor came home and asked, she was just like, oh, I think I saw so-and-so rummaging through your stuff. And there was one other scene. This girl, like Donna, has always just kind of like been around. So put Claire on the board as the town mole who was working on the inside.
Very interesting that you have someone like her that is there enough but never anything super important, and you keep her employed. I'm happy for the actress, but keep her employed for 3 seasons where, honestly, these people in Colony House could be any actors or actresses, and we would never notice as long as they're just the NPC versions of the characters in this show.
Right.
And real quick, before we leave, we're already far off it, but I did want to say when it came to Jim and Kenny, we talked about this in the last podcast. How did they not go to Victor? Victor, who is staying in the village with them, they didn't say, yo, you don't have to come, but give me some guidance on how to find Tabby. You brought her where you brought her. And I know Boyd was like, oh, you went to the Bottle Tree. Well, I can take you to the Bottle Tree. I've been there. It's similar, but still, you have a scene where they go to Victor and they say, yo, man, you know this. You've been here forever. You took Tabby where she got lost. Take me there. I mean, I couldn't believe that. And that goes back to the whole they don't talk to each other. And it has gotten a little bit better as season 2 went on. There were some certain things that I know Luke was bringing them up too. But that was egregious in my mind. I just don't know how you don't talk to Victor before you leave.
I agree. I just thought it was such a win that Boyd was finally telling them, okay, if you guys are going to go out into the woods, I guess I'll share what my experience in the woods was. Like, here's where the little talisman hut is. Here's where the bottom, like, I was just happy to see that Boyd was sharing that with them.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. And I guess the last thing before we leave Colony House, when it came to Fatima, and then we have Elgin, and we already talked about his little hallucination/dream thing. Something that I saw when I was binging that I just couldn't bring up, obviously, because you guys were new watchers when we were going through it on the podcast. Somebody said that when he was in the tub and he was being drowned, and it was that scary skinny lady, whatever we want to call her, somebody said it was a zombified version of Fatima. I don't know. I mean, does it still look like that to you? Like, it looked more like it in the less CGI'd version of it in the last season. This version kind of just looked like better CGI, and now it doesn't look as much like Fatima to me. I don't know if there needs to be any kind of connection. She was the one who brought him to the little lake, and it's all of his...
She's the lady of the lake?
She's the lady of the lake. And all of the stuff when it comes to him with these hallucinations has to do with the water. The lady, like, went to drown him. She also had... her hands were dripping when he saw her in the dream, when she touched his face. I don't know. It's something to be said, but I mean, it was so funny to me that they said it was a zombified version of Fatima, because when I saw it in season 2, I laughed because I thought it was so shittily done with like the makeup CGI. Yeah. Which obviously we said it. the budget's getting better and they're
Yeah.
make it looking a lot better. But I thought that was like laughable when I saw that, so I kind of just like let it go out of my mind. But I don't know. Do you think there's anything to that where it could be Fatima? Do you think it means
Could be
anything to
cool.
you right now?
That monster is a skinny legend, just like Fatima. So maybe.
Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
anything can be anything in FROMville. For real, I got
So true.
nothing on Elgin's vision of this skinny lady, except it is like noteworthy that she's always wearing that floral kimono or whatever the hell it is. Like,
Yeah.
she's not wearing traditional zombie garb. Like,
Yeah.
dressed up,
What are you wearing,
know?
dog? Wearing a kimono.
Yeah.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, I'm pretty sure Ellis wears a kimono in the first season when you were first meeting him, and it was like one of those kind of.
Sounds about right.
So maybe Fatima borrowed it, got zombified, jumped in the lake, came back
Could be.
as the skinny legend, whatever Kathleen called her. So I don't
kinda
know,
like
but
it.
yeah, it could mean something, but we'll see.
I feel like Luke would totally have something to say about Tilly's involvement in that
Yeah.
specific vision.
Totally.
Got Tilly on his radar, but I got nothing. I was like, oh damn, Tilly can see her too, until she was just part of the vision.
Exactly.
But also
That would
when
have
she-
been cool.
Yes, that would have been very cool.
I want her to be something. I really do. I, unlike Luke, think that she is a force of good.
Me too.
Okay.
He
Okay.
is anti
Okay.
Tilly.
Yeah,
He would even
I'm a
call
little on the
her
fence.
Telly if he was here. That's what he would do.
She's a
Oh, yeah.
narc.
All right.
Telly.
So let's keep moving forward. So now we're somewhere, again, food shortage. Everyone's stealing Kenny's mom's basement rations. That's for the whole town. Randall then tries to steal a goat, and then Victor pulls a gun.
And we
which
knew he
was
had the
so
gun.
crazy. I know, but
Yeah.
it's crazy to see him try and use it.
I loved that scene. Victor's
Yeah.
just tired of this guy's shit. He can take a lot too. He's just like, I do not like Slim Shady. Boom, draw the gun. Also, you were just like, people are stealing from Kenny's mom's basement. I was like, Girly Pop's got bigger problems to worry about. Because she gonna die, but you know, she doesn't know that
You're
yet.
gonna die. Mm-hmm.
Gosh, are we gonna get into Yell Jackets? Where they're gonna start eating each other?
I mean, that's what I thought immediately. It's hard not to.
As long as they eat
go there.
As long as they don't eat each other like in the 100 and they make it look like gelatin. I don't know.
That
if
was
that's
looked like
spoilerly,
spicy, like a slab of tuna at a sushi place.
But, ugh, dude,
in the 100.
it was bad in the 100.
I
They
will
made it even worse.
say, the cow is totally fine. It's so cold there. The cow that they slit its throat.
Yeah,
unless
you
you
can
would
eat
think
that.
it's poison now that it got touched by this thing.
Chop that head off and eat the rest, man.
Yeah. But we'll see. Maybe that thing could be like rotted to the core when they go and visit it the next day. That I was thinking the same thing. Hopefully it's salvageable.
So put yourself in the shoes of Boyd when this happens. I know. Okay, well, first we could talk about quickly, Ethan loves this goat. Victor's protecting him. I do like the whole Victor is the protector of Ethan. Finally, like you said, he's done with the shit of Slim Shady, pulls the gun. We knew he had the gun, but he never really has used it. He gives it up to Boyd, which I don't know if I would have done that. I would have just been like, I'm putting the gun down, but I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
But anyway, then they have the conversation, the important conversation with Donna and Boyd, and they're talking about, hey, and Mrs. Lou, there's a problem here, right? Everything's rotten. People are stealing shit. We're going to have to slaughter these animals. Ethan overhears it and whatever. I mean, little kid stuff. It is what it is. Okay. But what we're moving on to here is the big trap, right? So for the first time, I mean, they've done stuff in the first two seasons, but the first time really where there's like a master plan being hatched here, we watched the monsters go into the barn, open the door, let the animals out. Now, I just originally, when I thought that, I thought they were just going to go like slaughter them and be like, haha, sorry guys. Like, we heard you talking about this is your last ditch effort. We're taking their asses out. Instead, they let them wander. Now, again, you're Boyd. You talk to Jay for a second. You have a little whiskey with them, and you see the cows walking down the street. I understand it's the end, and you need these cows. But I feel like you can go get them in the morning. You can go find them, maybe. I mean, I know they can go anywhere, and they can go into the wilderness as deep as they need to. And obviously, they're out with the monsters. But if you're Boyd and you try to be as logical as you can. These farm animals have been chilling outside for however long that they've been in FROMville, and the monsters never ate them or attacked them or anything. So do you, as Boyd, let them walk and assume that the monsters probably won't get them? Or are you going to do what he did and kind of panic, go out there? I mean, this was chaos. I mean, this was everyone out. And we always talk about this, how it's ridiculous in a way where they're Michael Myers, these monsters, where when you first get introduced to the little girl who opens the door, immediately this monster bites her freaking, I guess, her sternum out, but I like to say face off, but that's not how it works. But basically, immediately monster attack, right? But then ever since then, it's just like, hey, we're taunting you. We'll get you if we want to get you. We're really gonna get into your psyche first. So they're Michael Myers, but still, we have Julie, Ethan, Jade, Boyd, Mrs. Lou. I mean, everyone's out, and it's full on chaos. Would you guys have gone out? Like, what are your thoughts on Boyd making that decision?
I'm never going out. Just for the record.
Me personally, I'm staying inside. Boyd, in the context of his last 48 hours, has been discussions around rationing food and the fact that they only have a month left. If you see all of the animals, which is your final source of food, just running around, I understand why he panicked, and his knee-jerk reaction was, okay, we got to shepherd these things back into the barn.
Yeah.
Why did Jade, Victor, and Mrs. Liu have to get involved? I kind of, definitely Mrs. Liu. I was just like, no, come on, no. But I don't know. I understand everybody's rationale. The biggest culprit is Ethan opening the door, period.
Yeah.
Which,
awesome.
I had to get my shots in on Ethan. And like you said, by the rules established in episode 1, where the monster, like, when they jumped through the window and just ate up the little girl, like, Ethan and Julie should be dead.
Yeah, I agree.
Period. Again, like, is that the element of they are choosing when and how they want to kill each of these people? Like, I just don't know. Although I in shows like this, I really appreciate when they're consistent with the rules they establish, and they kind of haven't been.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think if we get more confirmation that there's really into the psychological taunting and really sucking the hope out of you, then fine, because then it really does make them more sentient. And this episode did make it shown that they are sentient and making their own choices. They're setting traps now. They're having full-on conversations with Boyd about things he said. So I guess technically you can open the door and decide, like, I'm going to play around with them a little bit and then scare the shit out of them and then get them later. But still, it makes you wonder. I mean, obviously, we talked about when Boyd gave the blood and the infection to Smiley. The other ones could have easily just attacked him and killed him. No more Boyd. It's game over. And we did talk about the fact that maybe they have instructions not to kill Boyd. But there's been plenty, not just Boyd, plenty of times where they're full on Michael Myers, and it's like, is this their choice or is this just how the show is to keep
They also could just be playing the long game. Like, they're like, we got time. We're here every day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it could be that they're deciding to, they're just like, I'm going to scare the shit out of you tonight. Maybe tomorrow I'll eat you up.
Yeah, it's weird. The monsters, as this show progresses, are more than meets the eye for sure.
Definitely.
What I wanted to bring up, hell yeah, Jim.
Hell yeah.
That was Sarah that kind of helped out Julie and Ethan, and that's the only time we saw her this episode, I believe. And then they hide out with Slim Shady, which is cool. I don't know.
Yeah,
I want Slim Shady to turn a corner.
I think that, who was it that theorized that he will turn the corner and then he'll be more of like the badass of the group? I like that. I forget who it was.
I said that's what I wanted it to be. But the events of this episode do not suggest it with the whole goat fiasco.
Yeah. And it's like he was like, I'm taking my goat. I'm like, you bring that thing on the bus, bro? You bring that shit on the bus? Is that your goat?
Literally.
And Victor said, don't bring a goat to a gunfight, bro.
Fucking right. But let's talk about, because, slaughter, obviously, of Kenny,
Yeah.
of Boyd, is whatever. But we did skip over a little bit of Jade is going nuts with
Yeah.
all kinds of ropes and rags
Right.
and is kind of trying to figure out what he saw in that cave, what he saw, the symbol, and how does it match. And he's just like staring and I assume like rearranging the ropes and trying to get inspired and like a aha moment, but he's not. And I mean, there's nothing more to add, really, I don't think, but just wanted to get your opinion on it.
It's kind of consistent with what Victor described about, I think the dude's name was Chris from the picture. You know, he became unstable and his attitude and whole mood shifted. And we haven't seen Jade go like malicious and violent with it yet, but he's going a little loco. So that's kind of consistent with that downward mental state that we've said people who have seen this sign before have gone through. So I'm a little concerned for Jade, but in my heart of hearts, I do not see him going that
Yeah.
full on violent way.
It made me feel better that he was being very crazy when he was hammered, right? Very hammered. Now going nuts about this symbol is what caused him to drink and drink and drink to get to that point. But when he woke up, he was pretty rational. And he also weirdly kind of just said, listen, I'm still trying to figure it out in my head. I'm not going to tell you about it, which just talk it out, bro. Tell everybody in the world. Maybe somebody saw the symbol somewhere else. My goodness. But I don't know if we need to beat that dead horse anymore. But now, should we just get to the ending here? We there? Is this it? The
Yeah, I
last
think we're there.
conversation, the last third? Yeah. I feel bad. Kenny, man. Mrs. Lou. It's tough.
Where do you think Boyd is going to be when we open the episode? Do you think they're just going to like leave him like handcuffed to that thing with her dead body all night?
100%.
Oh, yeah. 100%. He's going to be staring at it as it becomes morning, staring right, never sleeping, obviously. This cowboy Matthew McConaughey guy seems like he's
good.
Yeah, he seems
Sheriff
like he's
Monster.
Yeah. Sheriff
Yeah, I
Monster.
liked him actually.
He was obviously in the other seasons, but now he's getting a little more screen time, and he's
Well,
he's
he
allowed
took
to
over
talk.
for Smiley
Yeah,
as
he
the head
did.
monster.
Someone had to, yeah.
My gosh,
It's so the interesting thing is he brought up the quote. He said, "You can't break me." That's what you said, isn't it, Boyd? If we go along with it was daytime, so they were in that like comatose state underground, there's no way he or any of the monsters could have like heard Boyd say that. So like how did they get that? There's
when
got
does
to
he
be
say
some
that originally?
Immediately after he smashes the music box, and then he's out of that tower thing, and he's back where the FROMville version of it is when the not lantern, when the what's it called? Jesus, the thing he lit, torch. Jesus Christ, where he was when the torch wasn't lit.
Yeah,
sitting there
got it.
in the daylight.
Yeah, you're right, Brian. I don't know. I mean, that just means that they're tapping into all.
Exactly. Yeah, but there's got to be some level of hive mind or like omnipotence that the monsters are definitely plugged into.
We know that Abby was talking to him, and if we assume that it was the bad entity speaking through Abby, could it have been the music box entity or another entity that's even bigger? That entity existed during the day. So when he's talking shit, this entity could have heard it. If they're higher up, let the pawns know. Make sure you say it to them when you start breaking them. I could see that. But again, we need more answers. We need to know what is higher up compared to the monsters.
Yep.
Did someone write down exactly what he said when he was like, "Oh, we can't kill you, Boyd"? Does he just say, "Where's the fun in that"? Or
basically,
was
basically.
Okay,
yep.
gotcha.
So they don't give the full on like we're not allowed to kill you, but where's the fun in that? Yep.
I hate it for our townspeople, but as a viewer, I kind of appreciate that the monsters are taking a step up in terms of their abilities. I don't know. I kind of like it. Still Michael Myers, but I like that they can talk. I like that they're setting traps. They got to be even more on their toes, which sucks.
I think this is the right way to start season 3 because it is going to force our townspeople to go on the offensive, just like Kenny was wishing. Because if you now know that these monsters will set traps for you to make you leave your house instead of just like, hey, it's nighttime, you have the talisman up, you're gonna go have some sweet dreams. We won't bother you unless you let us in. Now they're actually luring you out with things that will make FROMville even more dangerous, like the food shortage and things like that. I feel like they're going to be forced on the offensive. They're going to be like, we cannot just try to live now. We have to get the hell out of here. We really have to get the hell out of here, which hopefully turns into more answers because on the offensive, you're going to have to either go into the wilderness or do things that are going to get us some more answers. So I think it was the right way to go for episode 1 of season 3. I think it was a nice step towards what we're asking for. I'm sad for Kenny. I'm really sad for Kenny. Mrs.
Yeah, I
Lee
think
deserve that.
my parting shot will just be that I'm so glad we get to do this episode by episode because we can really like focus on minute details and hope that that brings us to some sort of like theories, conclusions. Because we were watching multiple at a time. It was like
Yep.
to get the episodes out. I'm like, okay, I got to watch 5 in the next 2 days. You know what I mean? I'm like, there's no for this. Like, I'll maybe watch it twice. This time I didn't get to just because we've been really busy with Winona and all that stuff. But I'll probably end up watching them twice so I can really like focus on the details. And it's just nice to be back, even though be back means we've only been watching this show for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You know what I mean? But it'll be fun to be part of the discourse on Reddit, discourse on our Discord. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time.
It still always leads to major theories. We're going to have a blast talking to you all on Discord about that. Brian, do you have any parting shots before we hit this outro?
Not really. No,
Okay.
I think I covered it all in the body of this episode.
Yeah,
But good start
I
to the
agree.
season.
I agree. I think it was a strong episode to start season 3. Week to week is going to be so much fun. Like you said, Kathleen, while this show is made for the binge and it makes you want to go next, and we do have the screener, so technically we could. We're not cheaters, and we're covering this week to week on the podcast for you guys. So it is cool because it gives us time to talk to you all for the 7 days in between. I guess technically 6 days in between. We can go on the Discord. We can go on Reddit. We can chat with you guys about theories, anything like that. So first thing, I guess, is bingetowntv.com/Discord, because that is going to be where the fun is at. We could talk about theories for From. We could talk about anything with any TV show we've covered or any TV show you're watching. bingetowntv.com/Discord. And if you like what you heard, check us out at bingetowntv.com or go on any of your favorite podcast apps or YouTube and hit Bingetown TV, and you will see our entire catalog. We have so much coming up. I put it all in the intro. We'll be back next week. And like I said, with these screeners, we'll be dropping these as soon as possible for you guys. So maybe we'll be the first drop. And if you guys need some From fix, if you need to talk, if you need some theory talk, we'll be here for you. Once again, we are Bingetown TV, and thank you so much for listening.